We now have what is the transition to a high-income economy. And this can be looked at from two angles. One is China has its own criteria, which is moderate prosperity in an all-round way. In 1949, China was one of the poorest countries in the world. In fact, the statistics show there are only 10 countries in the world, 8 in Africa and 2 in Asia. We now have what is the transition to a high-income economy. And this can be looked at from two angles. One is China has its own criteria, which is moderate prosperity in an all-round way. That would be achieved in 2020, 2021. But this means an enormous expansion in the needs of the people and the possibilities and needs. In the early periods, not to die young was the chief problem after 1949. In 1978 was how to achieve reasonable standard of living. Now people have educational needs, cultural needs, environmental needs, etc., which are much more complicated and much more developed, and therefore this constitutes a new era.
I think the new era means a more harmonious model of growth, respectful for environment, providing with better salaries in order to ensure better quality of life for the majority of Chinese people, and fighting corruption. And finally, the main decision already developed in the last 5 years and strongly confirmed by the Congress were able to regain consensus of Chinese people for the Communist Party and for the leadership of the country. And I believe that new era means that, and also other things, but this element, a new model of growth and a new model of government based on transparency and fighting corruption, protecting the natural environment, all of that is the new era, and the new era is strongly appreciated by Chinese citizens.
And when you look at the report, Xi Jinping repeats and repeats again that we are living in a time of very rapid but also complex changes. But for China, this new era is a moment in which we have this declaration by Xi Jinping of the declaration of the Chinese Renaissance. I think that Mao Zedong declared the Chinese independence, in a sense, revolutionary independence. Deng Xiaoping declared to the Chinese people and to the world that China is an open country, is going to reform, and it's going to open itself to the world. And Xi Jinping just said to the world, look at China, we are going through a process of renaissance, and the renaissance will be completed, in a sense, in 2050. This is the new era.
So when China talks about new era, that sounds very credible. And it's very good that this new era emphasis is made, because it shows that the leadership is aware that things have to change further. that what was achieved is not enough, is not final. I think in politics there is always a danger of complacency, a danger that politicians are satisfied with what was achieved and don't think about a new era. If the leading political force of the country says we have achieved something but we need to go into a new era, that has a very strong mobilizational potential.
Chairman Xi proclaimed his China Dream plan in the National Museum. At first it was just a sketch, a very general picture of what's going to happen with China by the year 2049. Then he started to add some parts of this picture. New normal economy, Xinjiang, this fight against corruption, then it was Silk Road strategy, Idailu, and central part of the discipline is the party life. So it became a comprehensive strategy. But still it was a strategy, a plan, which needed to be somehow proved that it is correct. And so those 5 years passed since 2012, and the 19th Party Congress, after analyzing the achievements for those past 5 years, approved this sketch, and it became a plan. It was called Socialism with Chinese Characteristic of the New Era. So those 5 years were at the start of the new era.
President Xi has been in the leadership role for the past 5 years, was the top leader, right? It was quite a challenging period of time for China because the Chinese economy was in a transition from a very high speed of development to something called new normal, right? Which is slower development, rate of development, but it has a more focus on quality, right? And the second initiative he took was really in this anti-corruption thing. And the third thing, from our perspective, is really the One Belt One Road initiative. So we think that that he has done a lot, achieved a lot in these three areas. The transition was not easy to new normal, but at this point, you see the Chinese economy there is no something called a hard landing, right? The economy was very well still on the right track. The anti-corruption, you see that there is a major change in the government side. It's not like the Chinese government, they always try to do that, but in the past 5 years, you see this major impact. And I think it was recognized by the international society, and it really has a momentum today. It's a major achievement. So moving forward, after the 19th Congress, Party Congress, I think the leadership will be probably in a stronger position to really work on something called structural reform, because it's not just about near term, it's about long term. So after the 19th Party Congress, I think the leadership probably is in a better position to tackle the challenges for that party.
So for us, China is an inspiration, and we want to learn from the lessons. How come that these countries, which are at the same level with Africa at independence, they have been able to perform that wonderfully well. Africa, when you look at what we call infrastructure gap, is the highest in the world. And Africa suffers also from connectivity. And if then we have something like a Belt and Road Initiative, definitely it would reduce some of our problem, and definitely it will go a long way ensuring that we have put in place the infrastructure in terms of road, railways, etc. So my advice is, for those who are lagging behind, it's high time now they should try also to put in place a strategy of engagement with Chinese, so that at the end of the day, we can align the Chinese FDI, the Chinese aid, to our development agenda, so that in a very near future we'll be able to exit from poverty, we'll be able to industrialize.
中国古人说：“善学者尽其理，善行者究其难。”构建人类命运共同体是一个美好的目标，也是一个需要一代又一代人接力跑才能实现的目标。中国愿同广大成员国、国际组织和机构一道，共同推进构建人类命运共同体的伟大进程。
One of these old sayings goes, 和耕真美在于合一, which means the best kind of soup is made by combining different ingredients. And Xi Jinping has used the phrase to describe our ever more complex global society, and in calling for what is now known as the community of shared future for mankind.
世界那么大，问题那么多，国际社会期待听到中国声音，看到中国方案，中国不能缺席。中国有句古话：“万物并育而不相害，道并行而不相悖。”人类命运共同体，顾名思义，就是每个民族、每个国家的前途命运都紧紧联系在一起，应该风雨同舟，荣辱与共。
In Africa, China is working to implement its concept of building a community of shared future for humanity, and many projects aided by China are having an impact on local people's lives. Part of China's initiatives focus on improving the infrastructure of developing countries, and it's now using its experiences in African countries to help with new projects elsewhere.
What China has done in terms of its internal economic development is a model for other countries to emulate.
We have common challenges, and we should do something together to solve our problems. And I think it's a good point to start a dialogue.
In this moment, I think you are a light from all the world. because your problems are the problems of all of the humanity, but you are very hard, work hard to be a solution for peace, for ambiental.
Civilizations must coexist, and that people from different creeds should work together for a better humanity.
中国人民愿同各国人民一道，共同开辟人类更加繁荣、更加安宁的美好未来。